People don't like creating passwords anymore.
Welcome to the Digital Customer Comms podcast, where we discover how regulated companies engage, retain, and delight customers at scale. Today, we're talking to our very own Harry Holland, product manager at Beyond Encryption, to understand the best ways that regulated companies can communicate with their clients easily without adding unnecessary friction whilst remaining secure. Hi, Harry.
Hi, Sam. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. So let's dive in. What to you are the main barriers for professionals trying to communicate securely?
So I think there's been a bit of a stigma of that security and encryption technologies are very complex, and that comes from legacy solutions, really. So the fact that these old solutions used to have multiple steps to get into their communications, I think there's just been a bit of a as I said, a stigma around these solutions.
And in terms of where we are with those solutions now, then what's evolved?
I think putting the user first has really evolved in this way. There's still lack of uniformity between these solutions, but there's definitely a sense of putting the user first, making this nice, simple integration points, simple customer experiences, and obviously the security of these things has also increased as well.
We're doing all we can at Beyond Encryption to make our secure email tool as easy to use as possible for clients and customers. Part of that evolution has been this new guest reply feature that allows recipients to reply securely without having to create an account. Why is that for you such an important step to take in terms of secure communication?
With every interaction we have with new softwares and solutions that providers might be using, it normally requires an account, and people don't like creating passwords anymore, because we've actually got on average about 118 portals that we use throughout the year. Obviously, there's an onus on me to then remember the password and engage in that way. So this is why we wanted to ensure that we can actually open up a two-way secure communication channel without the need for registration, but obviously without compromising security as well.
Compliance is obviously a big issue there as well. How do you make sure in your job role that everything we do when we're creating these solutions meets those regulatory requirements while being simple enough to use on a daily basis?
We obviously use standard military grade encryption, AES-256 encryption, but in combination with recipient authentication to ensure that we do meet those regulatory requirements, to ensure that your communications are being opened by the relevant person, or your intended recipient, should we say. And then obviously that in combination with simple user experience is really what makes this work.
Email's obviously what we use every day, all of us, to communicate with each other. And I think we almost don't really think of it as a communication channel because it's so embedded in our daily practice. How would you say firms can train their staff and make their staff more aware of the risk there is around email?
Human error is still the largest part of these data breaches, with misdirected emails being one of the main reasons for that. Users still think they're covered with certain policies trying to limit communication via email, but that's just not what customers expect. We've done some research around, I think it's over 80% of users still expect to be communicated via email. And inherently now that means that has to be secured, which, as you said, making sure that we're integrated with daily practices, again, is absolutely paramount.
And the importance of authentication there comes to mind in that, like you mentioned earlier, knowing that the person that you're talking to, the customer you're emailing, who's receiving the data, is the right person. Inherently within that, there's this idea of friction that if I have to identify myself, it's like standing in the queue at the airport. Once you've got off the plane, you've got to do that final bit where you've got to get through passport control. It's another added bit of friction. How do you balance the need for security with the added complexity that sometimes these security solutions can bring?
Yeah, I think the most important bit here is staying with what people are familiar with. I mean, we're all very familiar with logging into your bank and using things like two-factor authentication via an SMS code or authenticator apps. These are becoming more daily practices. They are becoming more standardized now. Ensuring that we can basically provide a solution that can work in these manners means there's an element of familiarity straight away. And again, that simple user experience then doesn't compromise security at all as well.
When we're talking about words that we might be more familiar with than other people, authentication and verification, all this stuff, encryption, it can scare people off thinking, well, I don't really know how to use all that. What would you say to someone who's never really used this type of tech before about how easy it is?
We really have designed this solution to be able to be used by anyone. We've specifically gone down the web-based journey to mean that it can be agnostic to whatever device you're on, whether it's desktop, mobile, anything. But also the simple guided user experience about telling you where you are in your process, what's coming next, and easy tool tips and things to go around. Need help articles where possible. It really is a simple solution to use. When you're talking about a couple of clicks to get through to your communication, and when you think about an email, you're clicking on it, reading your email. There has to be a balance of, we are adding a level of security. So adding an extra step is necessary, but making sure that step is small enough and easy enough to follow is obviously that's where the battle becomes, and that's why we focused on that piece and why it's so easy for recipients to open secure emails.
When you're thinking about how easy is it for people to open these emails, is this something that my grandma can use at home when she sent an insurance statement or an insurance policy or bank statement? What are you looking at? What kind of metrics are you looking at? Do you have numbers that you're looking at to sort of reinforce that?
Yeah, we're obviously sending millions and millions of communications now, and we've got an average open rate of, I believe, 77%. And bear in mind, we work very much in the financial services sector, where the demographic does tend to be towards the sort of other end of it. So we do have some elderly users using our solution, as well as people that might be perceived to be more familiar with technology. Yeah, so the numbers really do speak for itself. A 77% open rate there it really is high, considering open emails and portal rates tend to be in the low single figures.
Yeah, an amazing achievement in terms of engagement. If you think you're also protecting all those communications or all those people's data as well, that's an even better achievement. When it comes to designing and keeping up with the risks to email and to digital information, designing a product that keeps up with that, how can you ensure that you're following the trends, that you're following the risks that are most prominent now in your role?
I think that obviously email isn't going anywhere at the moment. Email is, I think on average 370 billion emails are sent a day at the moment, with that projected to get to around 400 billion in 2027. So there is an element of the trend of email is still increasing. So whatever we're doing right now, there will be certain things we can still enhance. But the trend of multi-factor authentication and ensuring that is becoming standardized will become part of our everyday interaction. So making sure that that's part of and we follow whatever other methods become available and people become used to, that'll be something that we'll definitely ensure to follow up on.
Do you have anything that you'd like to say about the new guest reply feature? Would you like to give it a bit of a summary, sort of top line summary of what it is and why we're bringing it out for our listeners?
Yeah, of course. So again, just in summary, the need for passwords and things really is becoming a chore for people, and this digital fatigue. So we thought we want to open up this secure two-way communication channel between clients and customers with as little friction as possible. And by doing so, we should see even higher engagement rates than we already do at the moment.
Great. Look forward to it. Thanks for your time today, Harry. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye now.